G'day everyone, Jackson here. Welcome back to Daily Endeavours for the 24th of May. Cat's attacking my keys. So we've got a 15 seal set. I just want to go through the golden vendor though first. So timestamps will be in the description if you want to skip this shit. Or if you're looking for one in particular, you just want to skip all the other stuff. Yeah, just look through the timestamps of the chapters. Okay, so we've got Elambris and Infernal Guardian shoulders. You know how I feel about shoulders. I don't think it's worth it getting them in any case, because the shoulders are the one that you don't need any DLC for any shoulders regardless. You just need Undaunted keys, which you get from just doing dungeon pledges. So they're the ones that most of the time the only things I recommend getting from these is going to be the helms that are DLC related. In those cases, you don't have the money for them, or you don't want to pay for them. That's the other way you can get them. In this case, wouldn't bother. Now, Elambris is a good set. Infernal Guardian I'm not a big fan of, but Elambris is a pretty decent set. I preferred it before, when it worked really well on Sorcerers, because you had fire and lightning damage, and you could apply them both differently, whereas now it just does both at the same time all the time. The only real issue I have with this set, it's not great in solo play. It's great in group play. It was decent in group play. It's not great in solo play though, because the AoE doesn't move. So picture you're in Veteran Maelstrom, for example. Like you're running around, you're trying to kite the I mean, you're not always kiting, but you want to be kiting the melee enemies. And so you're just going to be moving them out of the AoE, basically. And in that case, things like Falcon Screw are going to be better, because that stuff tracks. You don't need to worry about where the positioning is on that one. Obviously, there's things you can do to keep them in the AoE, but it's just easier using other stuff and more practical. But in group play, it's pretty good. Bosses that stay still for a little while, it's really good for them. There are better options, but Elambris is pretty decent, especially since Elambris is a very easy dungeon to do on Vet. So on Crypt of Hearts 1 is pretty damn easy to do on Vet. Same thing with Infernal Guardian. This is City of Ash 1. This one is whenever you shield, you have basically a coin flip between lobbing out some flame damage. The only thing that I don't like about this one is so this is a damage one. In PvP, it's a different story, right? It's like you apply pressure to someone while you're on the defensive. I can kind of understand that, but in damage dealing, or in group play, in PvE, if you want to deal damage, you don't want to be relying on shielding every now and then, unless you're really taking tons of damage all the time, which you're usually not. And shields usually, especially in late stuff, shields aren't really going to protect you from a lot of the stuff in there. It's usually insta kills and positioning and shit like that. So I'm not a big fan of this one, just because if you're going to go damage, if you're going to be the bitch, be the whole bitch. So if you're going to use a damage dealer set, use something that applies when you deal damage. So it's just practical. But yeah, it's just me. I'm not a big fan of this one. 2000 Flame Edge isn't bad, especially every 6 seconds, but yeah, I just think there's better ones. Okay, Live Wire. This one, the only real issue I have with this one, because it's healing for each enemy in an 8-meter radius. It's like the size of Whirlwind. That's pretty good. And 1,000 health. It's hitting a couple of people in a public dungeon. It's tons of healing. But the issue is every 6 seconds. So comparing this to something like Sap Essence, it just doesn't compare. Sacrificing a whole 5-piece for that, you might as well get something like Ordis Wrath that just affects all of your healing, all of your other healing. It's also heavy armor, so it's not great for damage dealers. It's okay for tanks, especially since for people not familiar with concussion, it's a status effect, and when you apply concussion, it's for a few seconds it applies minor vulnerability. But in a majority of cases, it's going to be easier just applying minor vulnerability to the boss, or you can use Nightblade. Nightblades have an ability, Lotus Fan, that applies minor vulnerability as well. The main reason for concuss is for minor vulnerability, or for off balance, but you don't need a full set to do that. You can use Shock Enchant, status effect increasing buffs, and for minor vulnerability you can just use this. And there's also other things that apply off balance. So Livewire is just outdated nowadays. I'd love to see I would love to see like more healing with this, especially since you look at something like Battalion, Crest of Cyrodiil. It's just like this thing just gets shat on in comparison. Mad Tinkerer. This set is interesting. It's cool to look at, I guess, with the Fabricant when it goes out and like fucking knocks a bunch of shit in the air. The only real issue I have with this is that if you use this in PvE group play, tanks that are trying to pull the enemies together, if this hits them, they won't be able to use like chains and shit like that to pull them into a nice group, and so you can AoE them down easier. This will actually impede their ability, and if it up to me, I wouldn't want to fucking cause grief to the tanks. I just want their job to be easier, because they make my job easier. So why the fuck would I use a set that stuns a bunch of enemies and makes them immune to chaining? Like, I don't understand why you'd use it. It's decent in PvE solo and PvP, but I wish there was like, I want them just to make another light armor proc set like this that doesn't stun. Because that's the thing, like every other good proc set in this game is medium armor. And the reason I don't like that is the jury is always robust, and so for a Magicka build, for a build that just like all the stats go into Magicka for the damage, it's not great because you don't want stamina, you want Magicka. So I just wish there was, personally I wish there was more light armor sets that just don't stun enemies, so you could use them in group play and not have to transmute shit. It'd be easier. It'd be, well, not easier, it'd just be better, I think. It'd be practical, I think. But that's just me. I don't like this set just because of that. Just because of the fucking knock-up effect that it has. And the fact that that causes it to make enemies CC immune. Oblivion. This is quite a funny set that I actually use myself, but not just as a novelty. It allows you to soul trap fuck tons of stuff, and if you just have too many empty soul gems, getting a full set of Oblivion and just going into like a public dungeon or like Skyreach or do Domins or shit like that, and just killing enemies, it just fills soul gems like fucking crazy. The heal is forgettable. It's like 1,000 healing. I mean, it's okay. Because yeah, it's every 10 seconds. It's what? It's like 1.6k a second. That's probably the effect of like of siphoning attacks. I need to check if it crits though. If it crits, it's fine. But if it doesn't crit, it's kind of meh. Yeah, there's no reason you should use this set personally, other than to soul trap a bunch of enemies for filling tons and tons of soul gems. And I mean tons. I mean like full stacks very quickly. Other than that, I wouldn't use that. And I wouldn't, because it's a base game dungeon, albeit level 45 minimum, and Vaults of Madness is a fucking such a long dungeon. But yeah, it's a base game dungeon, and I just wouldn't spend 200,000 gold on this. When you don't need this really. Combat position, it's okay. Every time you critically heal, you give a target a 2,000 shield every 6 seconds. Healers crit. Usually healers have quite a bit of crit chance, not as much as damage dealers, but they do have a fair bit. I think it's usually in the lines of like 40 to 30%. So usually they crit quite frequently. So you will get a lot of use out of this set, but a 2,000 shield really isn't a great deal. It's not a lot. So I don't know if this is affected by if this is like scales with Magicka, because I'm on a stamina build. I should check that out. If I'll just check that out now, actually. Just give me 1 minute. No, it isn't affected by Magicka. So that shield is minuscule. It's not really gonna help you much, I don't think. So if it were up to me, I would say don't bother with this, just because there's just better options out there. Yeah, that's just me though. I mean, it's okay. It's not terrible, but yeah. Personally, I don't think it's worth it. Because this set comes from a very easy dungeon from Way Wrestlers 1. Yeah, combat position. So, yeah, I wouldn't buy it just on the basis that if you do want to use this set, it's really easy to get it from Way Wrestlers 1. Yeah, it's one of the easiest and quickest dungeons to do in the game. So yeah, that's what I think about the Golden Vendor. Nothing worth getting, I think. Alright, so let's get to Endeavours. Alright, so now we'll start talking about the endeavors. So, killing reptiles, collecting cloth-producing plants, completing a duel, looting stealable items of blue quality or better, earning archival fortunes in the infinite archive or 15 steals. So I think archival fortunes is the worst option. I'd either go looting stealable items of blue quality or better, getting cloth-producing plants, killing some reptiles. You can find some of these easily in an instance area in a dungeon just at the start. And then, yeah, this one just usually doesn't take too long, just finding some Ancestor Silk or some Jute or whatever. And yeah, obviously, the only thing about this one is it requires another player. All of these can be done in base game. This one here, I would recommend if you're going to do it. It is a good option if you have Thieves Guild, especially. Necrom is also good, but you can do it in base game. It just takes a little bit longer. So I'll just cover a duel quickly. You just go up to a player. The interact button comes up near the health bars at the bottom there. You just hold that and it brings up this wheel here. Dueling is at the top left. The only thing you have to consider about dueling is there's like a maximum range for the area that you can duel in. And if you say like leave the area, let's go somewhere over here, it'll warn you that you're forfeiting the duel. And then eventually it'll forfeit the duel. If that happens, it doesn't count for you completing the duel. Only if you die, they die, or if they leave the area, like that. So either of those things work, as long as both players understand that if they leave the duel, it doesn't count for them. Just, yeah, probably not a good idea. Just kill them or have them kill you. It's just simpler, I think. Okay, so with stealable items, what you want to do is you want to find a place that has a lot of containers. Okay, so I'll go through the three things. There's the base game option, which I like to use the Volker Guard bank, and then the castle in Daggerfall. You've got Necrom, where I just use Necrom Underways, and then Thieves Guild, where you go to the Glanumbra castle, and there's a certain item that you can get. I'll show you all three. But for this one, all you do is there's... Oh, God damn it. Alright, so first thing, make sure you turn off in gameplay, go down to the bottom and turn this off, and also turn auto loot stolen items off if you have that already, because you'll get a bounty. The issue is there's a guard that comes through here. Where are they? Yeah, this one here, and they'll bust you, and it's best just to pay the bounty in this case because you want to keep doing it. Just make sure those are off and just start searching all of these. Eventually, you'll find one that has you'll find either a crafting motif, or you'll find a blueprint. And these blueprints can, sometimes they're green quality, but sometimes they can also actually be blue quality. So that's what you're looking for. Just checking everything here. So yeah, there's a recipe there. Sometimes these will be blue, sometimes they'll also be a motif. You can get those and they count as blue quality items. You don't have to sell them or anything, you just, as long as you obtain them, that's all. So this room here, got 4 things that you can search, and there's nothing in here to actually to give you a bounty. This area is actually safe. It's just that there's only 4 things in here, and they usually... Oh yeah, okay. So here we go. Every now and then you get a blue quality thing. Sounds like a bathing thong. Oh, okay. Yeah, so just search these, and once that's done, now what I suggest you do is go over to Daggerfall and go to the castle. So just take the route over here to the Wayshrine, and then go to the castle. So what happens is, when you leave a zone, it will... that was a pickpocketing ding noise there. What it will do is it will reset everything in the zone. So all those items that you just searched in the bank there, they will reset, and so you can search them again. And everything will be different. So there'll be more chances of getting blue items. And yeah, you just do the same thing in the Daggerfall Castle up here. Yeah, same thing in the Daggerfall Castle. So we've got this here. Just search that. Now in this room, keep an eye on this spot if you have Thieves Guild, because there'll be something important that I'll talk about later. But yeah, we're just going through all the cabinets here, just checking those. Nightstands here, just check these. There's a trunk over here. There's a nightstand next to the throne. You want to check that. There's this trunk over here. It's this wardrobe. It's nightstand. Go upstairs, and then there's a dresser here. This doesn't usually have anything in it, because it's actually like a food cupboard, I think. Check that, check the nightstand. Come to here, check these 2 wardrobes. and the desk over here. Then in this room, there's a ton of stuff you want to search. So these safe boxes, as long as no one comes in here and sees you doing it, you can take from these safe boxes, and every now and then they'll also have some blue items. Oh wow, what are the fucking odds of that? So there you go. So you get very lucky and find 2 of those. It's pretty rare though. Sometimes there'll only be 1 green item. And the issue is, unlike all the dresses around here, it's not instance. If you take that safe box, other people won't be able to grab it. So usually that safe box will be taken already. And yeah, not that common for there to be any blue items in them, let alone 2. That was crazy luck. So now what I do is I just go to the way shrine again, go straight to Vocal Guard, as we were before, and just go back to that bank. So just go here, back here, and then just travel to the bank again, and just do the same thing. Because every time you travel from each of the zones to the next one, it resets everything in that other zone. So you can just keep doing that infinitely until you get the items that you need. You just need to make sure you don't get spotted. That's why Necrom's good. So if you have the Necrom DLC, the Necrom Underways is excellent. This is the Necrom Underways, found here. You can find this in this section here, just north of the way shrine. You just come through this way. If you haven't been here before, you have the way shrine out here by default, if you have this DLC. If not, you can just travel to this house via home tours as well to get here easily. So when you get in, every single urn that you can see here can be searched, and some of these will have blue items. Not always, but there's so many urns in here to go through, and there's nobody in here to stop you. That's the main thing, because there's no NPCs in this entire area, so there's no one to give you a bounty. That's the main advantage of this one. So you can just check all these urns without any fear of consequence. Yeah, as you can see, it's oh wow, it's gonna be raining outside. That's what oh yeah, beautiful. So there's another one. So yeah, that's what I mean. It's pretty random, but eventually you get a few there. So you only need 2, so it's not crazy. Just wish this one would be green. It'd be so much easier. Alright, so I'll just quickly show you the other version, which is the Thieves Guild one. You need that DLC. I don't know if you and then I don't know if the stuff actually allows you to still like pick it up. I think you need the DLC in order to do that. I haven't actually tested it before though. I either own it or I don't. I don't use CSO Plus. So. Alright, so there's 2 places. If you go to Hughes Bane, it'll trigger the other place to pop up. But if you haven't been to Hughes Bane before, there is one anyway here that I'll show you. But I prefer the one in Glenumbra, just because it's easier to use. Alright, so for the Hughes Bane one, you need to go to the Bank of Vars Landing, right here. And in this corner over here, you see this crash urn over here. So when this lady goes away, you can pick this up. Just gotta be patient. There she goes. And now we pick this up. When we do, as you'll see on the right there, you see it counts as a stealable item of blue quality or better. So it's like, oh, it's only 1 item. What do you do now? So what you can actually do is destroy it, and it causes the trash urn to come back. So you can just do that twice. So yeah, this one's actually super duper good. The only thing is the initial travel. Now I'll just show you the one that I prefer using in Glenumbra, because there isn't a NPC that... There are NPCs nearby, but I find if you have like any stealth detection reduction at all, which you can get from medium armor, if you have this, it's virtually impossible to be spotted while you're actually grabbing it. So it's actually really good, because it's going go stealth, grab it, and then leave, and you never get a bounty. Not that the bounty really matters too much. Right, so just go back to where we were before, Glenumbra. You'll see this chest right here. So when you go into this corner, you just grab the chest, and then you steal this item, and that also counts. And then you just delete it, and it's like a magic trick, it just pops back up. So you can just keep doing that as many times as you need. And yeah, this dude over here, he doesn't spot you if you're in this corner. It does spot you every now and then, but I think if you have no stealth detection like bonuses at all, I think he spots you. But yeah, like even then, I'm wearing light armor, so I'm not like super stealthy. Okay, so next up we got reptiles. So there's three reptile types that you want to look for. Firstly, if you're wondering about lamia, do they work? No, they don't. Unfortunately, lamias don't actually count as reptiles. They count as barbaric foes, I believe, or there's like a specific one where they count as humanoids. Crocodiles are one bet. These things here. Another good option is Kaguti. These things can actually be found in quite substantial amounts in Shurifen. These guys here. Yeah, there you go. So that counts. So what you're looking for is yeah, these big boys here with the tusks. So if you want easy access to this area and this one, Stay Moist Mansion is pretty close. You can use that in home tours to get here, or you can use Ample Domicile to get over to this section here, which is the other area. Or I think down here there's also some stuff. I'm not too sure. Yeah, this is the area I use mostly. Same with this area over here. Shurifen is just like full of crocodiles all over the place, and there's Kagutis in pretty constant areas. But my personal preference for this is to go to Blessed Crucible. So when you get into Blessed Crucible, as soon as you get in here, there'll be 6 Dozogs. And these Dozogs count as reptiles. So you just gotta wait a few seconds, and then they'll all become hostile, and then you can fight them. They're a little bit tougher than Overland, but nothing you can't handle on your own. Kill these guys, and that'll count as 5 reptiles. Easy done. And it's an instance area, so it means that other players, no matter what they're doing, you can just come in here. If you're not in a group, none of the stuff in here will be dead. You just come in here and it'll be spawned. You're not waiting for it to respawn because the players killed it. You just come in here, you don't waste any time, you just kill the stuff and then you move on. And then also, wherever you travel into the dungeon from, you can go to the exit, and when you go through the door, it'll take you back to the Weishan that you came in from. So it also makes you like a little bit of a less delay, like getting back to where you were before as well. Because then you get to the Weishan, and whichever endeavor you want to do next, you just go to that one. Just a quick run through of actually getting to Blessed Crucible. So this house here, Old Mistvale Manor, you can use this in home tours to get there relatively easily. You just come through here, down this way. Once you get to the edge where this leads to Stonefalls, don't go into Stonefalls. If you do, just come back. But over here, there is a set of stairs through here, and there's another set of stairs through here, and you just travel down here, and Blessed Crucible will be right there. You don't actually need to be the level, like the minimum level required to get there, to walk in yourself. It's just to unlock it in Group Finder. You can actually go there at level 3, I think. Not that I would recommend that, because unless you're like a Necromancer or a Templar with like healing AoE shit. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so clothing materials. This is one of the common ones you'll find at highest level. This is Ancestor Silk. Alright, so that's the other one you'll probably see. So I'll just link this in the description here. It's all the clothing materials. These are all the cloth-producing plants that you can get. Which ones you'll find is going to be dependent on 2 things. Firstly, it's going to be dependent on your level. So at max level, you'll get 50% chance of Ancestor Silk, or it just depends. If you're like champion point 130, for example, you'll get Void Bloom instead of Ancestor Silk. And then the other one is your tailoring passive. How many points you've got in this also depends. So if I were to have, say, 5 out of 10, there'd be a 50% chance for it to be Ebon Thread. Just an example. So the best way to do this would be to have maximum tailoring, 10 out of 10, and then be max level, because you only get Ancestor Silk. And as you saw before with the blood red, like spider web looking stuff, it's very easy to spot in the distance, just because of how much it how little it blends with the surroundings. The other one is Jute here. As long as you know what these two look like, you'll mostly know majority of the ones you'll find will look like. Yeah, I'll make sure this is in the description so you can look at this, because if you scroll over it, it'll give you an image of what the node looks like, because every single node looks the same. So every Ancestor Silk node looks like that. Every Void Bloom node looks like this. Every Ebon Thread node looks like this, for example. So once you know what they look like, you'll yeah, it's pretty easy to travel around and find it from that point. Something that can help if you want to take it further, there's a couple of things. So firstly, big rock. Firstly is Keen Eye Cloth. When you get close enough to the clothing you're looking for, it will have like a shiny effect on it, so you can actually sort of spot it in the distance when you're getting pretty close to it. I don't find that once you know what each node type looks like, you don't normally need this, but in things like Ebon Thread or like flax and stuff like that, it might be worth it using something like this, because in environments where everything's green, it can be hard to spot them in the brush sometimes. But yeah, usually I find I don't need this, just on the basis that I know what all the nodes look like. But that can help. Secondly, the add-on I use here to showcase all of the cloth reducing nodes on the map, because they always spawn in predetermined locations. It's just chance between which one's actually where it actually spawns of those nodes. So what you can use is Harvest Map here. I'll also link this in the description. This is an add-on. Every time you pick up a node, it saves it in the database for the map, in your folders, in your documents. And if you go to these places again, there's a good chance that you'll get there and another node will be in that spot. So see, for example, this Ancestor Silk here. Perfect. So if you do this enough, basically the more you do this, the better it'll, the more rewarding it'll be for you, because you can just go back to all these different locations and you'll be able to check if there's Ancestor Silk or cloth reducing plants there. So that can really be handy there. The other thing is in the champion point menu, Master Gatherer. This halves the amount of time it takes for you to harvest these resources. So that can also drop the amount of time you need to do this. It just makes it quicker. That's all. And then the last thing is surveys. I don't have any on me, I don't think. Yeah, I don't. So clothing surveys will give you 6 nodes of cloth-reducing plants. It'll give you 4 of the, I think they're, what are they called again? It's like, Lush. It's called Lush Ancestor Silk or Lush Jute or whatever. So there'll be 4 nodes of that, and then there'll also be 2 Furrier Trap. Even though they're not plants, they count as cloth-reducing plants for the sake of the endeavor. So you can get all 5 of the cloth-reducing plants done from one survey. I just need to point out, though, as always, hold on to a couple of surveys if they're all you've got left. If you've got tons, go through them all, or go through most of them. But keep 2 in your inventory, because sometimes these survey endeavors come up. If you can't do this one with a survey, you just slow down a little bit. Whereas if you don't have a survey to do the endeavors which ask you to do a survey, you're fucked. There's no other way to do it. So best to hold on to a couple of those for a rain check. But yeah, it's up to you. But that's what I think you should do. If you were to ask what the best zone for doing this is, Craglawn's the best, because every woodworking, every rough wood, cloth-reducing plant, blacksmithing ore, and jewelry node gives you a small chance to get Gnome Croc. I don't think I've got any on me. Oh yeah, I do actually. So Fortified and Potent Gnome Crocs, these are what you can get from Craglawn alone. It's the only place where you can get this stuff. Potent Gnome Crocs, the Ye Blood Red Cocaine, this stuff's pretty good for selling, and it gives you one of the best traits in the game for dual damage dealing, which is known-honed. So it's quite sought after. So finding this stuff can be lucrative, but there's no, if you're just looking for cloth-reducing plants, you don't give a shit about Gnome Crocs. This place is usually more crowded with players than other places. So any of these zones here, you can just go through. There's no zone that, it's not like Gratwood being, the fucking massive forest biome. It doesn't really have more clothing nodes than any of the other zones in the game. I don't think. Just go to any zone that you like to be in. Even Alakir Desert has fucking tons of cloth-reducing plants. There's no shortage of them in any zone. Just pick one that you like to run through. Alright, so last one. We've got the earning Archival Fortunes in the Infinite Archive. So every boss in Infinite Archive or every minigame gives you 200 fortunes. So this one's going to be relatively slow compared to the other options because you need to kill basically 4 bosses or a couple, like maybe one less boss and like a minigame in the archive, but it's chance based on getting those minigames or the pilfer dudes, the imps that show up in the boss fight. They're random, unreliable. The only time I would say this would be totally worth it is if you had 2 Archival Fortune containers full of 500 Archival Fortunes each. Because as you can see with that, it actually counts. You still need to kill 1 boss, or you still need to kill 2 bosses though. Oh, excuse me. Even if you use one. Because it's 200 for a boss. It's 220 if you have ESO Plus. So yeah, you can't pay for convenience for this one. You can prep for convenience, I suppose, though. So Infinite Archive, the only thing is it's free, so like it's not so much free, it's base game. So even though it's in Necrom, you go to the world map here, you go Apocrypha, and from any wayshrine you can actually just travel in here regardless of your DLC, even if you don't have Necrom. So that's nice. But still, all the other options are technically base game too, and I would do them like any day compared to this one here, just because you have to fight bosses and it just takes time. So what you do is you come into the Archival Wings here, and when you start, you'll be in a stage. So you need to go through 2 stages, and then you get to a cycle, and the cycles are what give you the bosses. So these stages, you'll get a couple of regular like minion enemies. You just got to defeat them. They're about as tough as like a very old normal dungeon enemy. You'll get all sorts of random enemy types. As you can see here, we get Wild Hunt enemies. You can get Drumathra, you get Dwarven Automata, all sorts of stuff. That's one stage, so you need to do that again, and then after that you get to a boss. So these are verses. Every time you complete a stage, you get a verse that lasts until the next stage is done. These are very powerful, but very random. Some of these can be amazing. Some of these can be absolute fucking dog shit and be useless to you. In this case, this reduces AoE damage. It's okay. They're much better, like, those could be handy later on when you take more damage, but I prefer, like, stuff that increases your damage early on. Okay, here we go. So, the last wave of every stage will have one of these tougher enemies. There's a Firehide, for example. These guys aren't too bad. They're like the Dreadhorde Shamans from Mythology. They're like the lesser of the 3 in that dungeon. That's another stage completed. Now we got another verse. Hopefully we get something strong. Not really. Slain enemies will grant you a major buff. Most bosses don't. Like, bosses themselves take it when you kill them, that's it, so you won't really get any major buffs unless they spawn shit. I don't need stamina either. You know, whatever. Might be a boss with minions, we'll see. Yeah, neither of those are really helpful. I don't think this guy spawns anything. Oh wow, what a quick heavy attack. Oh, this is the final boss of, it's... I know it's Barbas, obviously it's Klavika's Vial. Isn't this the final boss of... I think it's... I mean, I'm probably spoiling shit anyway, so I'll just keep it quiet. Alright, so that's how you get your 200 fortunes each. So you have to do that 4 times in order to get enough visions for Archival Fortunes to get this done. So sometimes when you do these, I'll see if an extra event comes up. Hang on. So these are visions. They're like verses. When you beat bosses, so you get a different one. These are usually weaker, but they last the entire run. So this will actually affect you permanently until you leave the archive and reset it. Thumping Thaumaturgy would be good for me because I'm a Magicka build. So yeah, we'll talk about the other two ways to get fortunes. So sometimes when the wings, like when this portal spawns, there'll be another portal to the right, and it's basically like a coffee break. You get like either a mini game, which if you complete those mini games, you get 200 fortunes, the same way you do with bosses. But each time you complete one of those mini games on that character, or I think on that account, the mini games get harder and harder and harder to the point in which they get very difficult. So you can't really rely on them for your 200 fortunes every time, because as you do it more and more, it just becomes much more challenging. Obviously, if you do the last difficulty one, fine. Obviously, it's just fine, but most people can't really do that. The other thing is like an imp type enemy, a scamp type enemy that runs along the area in the boss fight. It's rare to spawn. I maybe see it once every 3 archive runs. Once every 1 or like 2 or 3. Yeah, if I do all bosses of one arc. Those, if you kill them, they drop 200 as well. If you get to cycle 2, you start getting 300, but it'll be 4 bosses by the time you get that, and that won't be the start of cycle 2 anyway, so yeah. There's not really much else I think it's worth talking about there. If you have any questions, as always, so just put them in the comments. I'll answer if you got any dramas. So yeah. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your support as always. I will see you next time, and take care.